Just a quick little notice, it is storming where I live right now, so if you hear something in the background like thunder or whatever, it's a storm. I apologize. Can't really help it. I have to live with it. So, let's get right into the review. So, The Flash 1 Minute War, Part 2, Miss Murder and Mayhem. It is actually the second part of 1 Minute War. This is issue 791. Yep. I'm an idiot. And it opened up with the Fraction, aka the alien group that invades Earth and crash landed in Central City in the first part and destroyed downtown Central City and most likely killed Iris. We don't really know yet, but right now she's presumed dead. And hundreds of thousands of people are dead right now. It's confirmed beginning the issue. Linda finds out Wally is alive. She was worried about him. And they are the only ones to be able to move thanks to their super speeds, which were activated for whatever reason we don't know yet. But it is connected to the Fraction. Tanks and soldiers start coming out of the ship and the wall that's now been put up over the ship. And they're moving at super speed too, which is something that will be explained later on. I think in issue 3 or 4 it's explained a little bit. Wallace and Bart head to the wall to find more information about what's going on here. Bart wants to find out what's on the other side and tries to face through it, but it's frictionless, which means they can't really run up it or face through it or anything like that. Wallace is trying to figure out why they can't really stop moving at super speed, because it is kind of interesting as to why they are moving this fast, but they can't stop. I mean, it's like, Barry, just like this W show for a minute, like if Barry was stuck moving at super speeds the entire episode, he couldn't stop. Or when Barry was stuck phasing the entire episode, like we knew why, but it was so weird, like why it's happening. What's the thing? But I'm glad they're mentioning that, like, it is kind of weird that they keep on moving at super speed, but they can't stop. I'm glad they mentioned it. Because you never know anymore with the writing. The wall opens up and Jay Garrick grabs Wallace and Bart and takes them to cover. And Jay says this isn't an invasion of any kind. It's a war that we're dealing with here. The Flash, Wally West, hears someone while he's running through the city to find survivors and that, try to find out what's going on. And he sees Barry holding the resumed dead Iris West, who's Wally's aunt. So, if you didn't know that, you know that now. Barry wants to travel back in time to save Iris, but can't right now due to Speed Force's power being messed with. So this is kind of the first clue as to, okay, this is how these tanks, these ships, these soldiers are moving at super speed. This is why Barry, Wally, Wallace, Bart, Max, and Jay, and Jesse, and we find out another one later on, why they're all moving at super speeds here. And it's because the Speed Force being messed with and their powers just started acting up and they got stuck in flash time. To sum it up, from what it seems like. So, Wally convinces Barry to take Iris back to his house, the West house. But they start heading out and get engaged with a Fraction ship drone thing. Barry and Wally separate up and it follows Wally and he throws a piece of metal at the ship and destroys it. Bart waves at the soldiers. Now, they're taking cover at this point. Bart, Wallace, and Jay. But Bart, for whatever reason, thinks that they're friendly, which kind of stupid from Bart's end. It's like, they just destroyed a major portion of Central City and you think they're friendly? Bart wants to run away, but Wallace mentions that the tanks and ships are moving as fast as them, if not faster, and they have EMPs that can negate their powers. Jay throws the boys down to protect them and get ready to fight because their cover just got blown. And Jesse shows up and saves the three speedsters. The Fraction's leader has been collecting metagenes to get slaves out of them. And they know that there are 5 users of the Speed Force in Central City. That being Barry, Wally, Wallace, Bart, and Jay. Or I guess Jesse, because they don't know. Do they know about... Well, no, they know about Barry because they saw him. So they don't know about one of the 6 that we have here. Of Barry, Wally, Wallace, Bart, and Jesse. Well, that's 5. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Wait, no. No, that's 6. Barry, Wally, Wallace, Jesse, Bart, and Impulse. Or someone. What? Barry, Wally, Wallace, Jay, Jesse, and Bart. Yeah, 6. I can't count. 6. So out of the 6, they don't know that one's a speedster? Is that what they're saying? Because they know about Barry. Well, I guess they know 6 now because Jessie just kind of showed herself, right? She didn't show herself earlier. So yeah, 6. And they don't know about Max either because we actually see him in a little bit. Actually right now. Max Mercury is heading back into the city limits. But before he does, he runs into one of the soldiers on the bike that's running back in the city calling for backup. And he catches up to the one that's trying to get away and try to get information from him. Figure out what else is going on, how to stop this. And the soldier kills himself before even saying anything besides saying that they're going to rule the planet and all that crap. Then it goes to Linda and their daughter Irie, who's moving at super speed along with them. So that's 7 speedsters now that we are dealing with. Move their family and friends that are at the barbecue into the house as Jay, Wallace, Jesse, and Bart arrive. Max shows up at the house as well. And then Barry and Wally show up. Barry's carrying Iris. Jay offers to help carry Iris in since Barry's been carrying her this whole time. But he kept walking, saying it's not been long enough for Barry to hold her. Then it's revealed that Miss Marvel, was this Marvel? That Miss Murder, who is a DC villain, I've never heard of her, but here we are, is being released by Odin on the Fraction ship. And the issue ends there. So they kind of just set up, this again was like another setup of like the bigger half of this whole event. Like, you know, issue 1 was like a really good opener. Issue 2 is like, we're still continuing that opener, but we're also setting up like what's entirely going on here. You know, like we're dealing with the tanks and the soldiers moving at super speed, their speed force being affected somehow. And, you know, again, Miss Murder, who will most likely play a role in this. In issue 3, I'm assuming. Because why else would they show her through all this? But it's going to be very, very interesting to see. I'm excited. I love this story. And I've only seen the first 2 issues. It's a very, very good story. And I'm going to just upload a short on the channel saying basically how, like, this arc, this, you know, event that we're doing for 1 Minute War, it easily has, like, one of the best starters to an event for the Flash we've had in decades, or years even. So, as a Flash fan, I think this is a really good arc. And I think I give the first issue a 9 out of 10. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 because it just continued the first issue. I do kind of hope that the 3rd issue is like, we're getting all the information out of the way. We kind of know why they're moving at super speed, right? We got all the questions out of the way. Let's focus on the real threat in issue 3 through 7. Which I'm assuming, and that's Thunder, by the way, if you can hear it. I kind of hope that in the last few issues, whether it starts in 3 or 4, that we are focusing on the big bad here, which is the Fraction. And then, you know, maybe some side villains here and there if they get any in there. But I'm genuinely liking this. I don't know if most comic stores to the Flash are like this or not. It'd be really cool if they are. But I generally don't know if they are or not. Again, it'd be very cool if it was, but I don't know if it is. Because I haven't read many comics for the Flash. So that one's kind of tricky to figure out. But, I mean, overall, 2nd issue, 9 out of 10. First issue, 9 out of 10. Again, it's kind of just like, I'm glad they're getting the questions out of the way, and I'm sure in the 3rd issue, again, I don't know yet. I'm assuming if you're watching, it's probably already seen the 3rd issue, or, you know, read it or whatever. But going into this blind, I kind of hope the 3rd issue if there are any more questions left to ask, which would be like, okay, how are they using the Speed Force, right? They could answer that in the third issue. They can answer it in the fourth, fifth, or sixth. And I wouldn't entirely mind when it's being brought up, as long as it is brought up. Because again, you can't really like do the story arc and not have an explanation behind how they're moving at super speed without the Speed Force being affected. So I think that the way they're doing it, it really does work out well for them. In the case that, like, okay, we have tanks and soldiers moving at the same speed as Barry, Wally, Bart, and all these other speedsters. But how does it work? And how does that even make sense? And I think the best way for them to do that was use Speed Force for it to be impacted, influenced, and all that. So the way they're going with it, I think, works pretty much perfectly. And it's a very good idea what they're coming up with. So I don't know when issue 3 review will be released. It might not be till the weekend. It's coming up weekend, like Friday or Saturday. We'll have to see what happens with the Flash CW show. But I do hope to get the last 4 or 5 issues done by next week. I'm not going to upload 2 times in 1 week for this. I would prefer 1 day a week to get this done. But I generally don't know when that will be. So, just going to have to deal with it as we go. Thank you for watching every day. Have a good night. Stay safe. And I'll see you guys next video. Bye, guys.